for the Winter Major, which is coming up on Wednesday. And I haven't done my predictions at all, which was actually a problem when it came to doing the player predictions, because I kind of like guessed my predictions based on like where, if they were all in like one big group, where I expected the kind of teams to end up to base where my players would end up. But we hadn't actually done predictions, so we need to do predictions now of the actual teams with the groups to determine how things go. Renegades are making it our group, you reckon? I think it's not a terrible shout. Queso up against Detonator. Look, Queso are really good. And I think on land, I think with pressure, it's not going to be too rough on them. But I also question, have they really had to perform under pressure yet? Think about it. Last split, obviously fighting, but like not getting too far. But this split, right? First event, they're not going to be expecting to win it all. They're not going to be expecting to go all the way too far. You know, they have these sort of expectations to get a certain distance, and then it'll be bonus from there. So did they have to perform under pressure? I'd argue no. And then in the second event, they had the pressure on them for sure. But then after a certain point, they'd auto-qualified and the pressure was no longer there. And then the third event, they'd already qualified for the major. So there was no pressure there. We've had very little experience of seeing them under the nerves, under the pressure. So we actually don't know. They're kind of an enigma, like the biggest enigma in terms of how they might play with nerves, with pressure on land. They could be really good. And if they are really good under pressure, if they are really good under nerves, if they are still having a lot of fun on the stage, then they are the favorites. You'd have to argue they're the favorites. I think we might see a slow start from them. I think we might see some difficulty on the pressure. I think if they get knocked out earlier than we expect, it's either going to be... there's a good chance that they will go down to the lower bracket and then come again, then get knocked out kind of in that 9th, 12th, 7th, 8th area, like early on in the playoffs. Like either, actually, I don't think on that 9th, 12th, I think because that's pre-crowd. I think they'd be used to it. I think they'd get knocked out in 7th, 8th kind of area once the crowd comes in. So I think if they fall early, that's where Team Queso do fall. Otherwise, I'm picking them easy top 4 every day of the week, even if they're not playing as well as we expect them because of nerves. Yeah, guys, all those tons of YouTube viewers. Detonator, on the other hand, look. Mechanically, they just don't ride, right? I think if you're looking at that team, Mikan has the best mechanics, like just straight mechanics. He's got some freestyle mechanics on him. But I think as a team, they don't quite fit that bill, right? Of strong enough mechanics to probably take on any team at the event. Maybe I'd like to see them against a Team Secret. They'd still be outgunned mechanically, but maybe they could cause that kind of upset there. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Team Secret, KCP, very similar box to me. Both have good mechanics, but I think for me, we'll go on that later. Yeah, we'll talk about them later. But yeah, I don't think Detonator get a single game win. I know Olpic said they would, but I don't think that's happening. I'm sorry, Detonator. I'm sorry. That being said, the hopium that we have for Detonator, Olpix has been literally practicing 10 hours plus a day. 10 hours plus a day. He's been on the grind. He's playing free play all day and then scrimming at night. What a lad. Absolutely mad lad. And maybe all this practice will get him coming back and being like a sick player in APAC North as well, and improving the region. So that's a big hope there. If Detonator were to get the game win, they said version 1. Olpic said version 1. And I think that's fair. I think you got to get it off to V1. But if that was V1 round 1, maybe you could take some form of advantage over the early stage. But it's going to be V1 round 3. I think there's not going to be nerves there. And you've got Torment as well. Previous world champion who should be able to captain that team, at least in terms of like nerves or anything like that. So I just can't see it. FaZe Clan versus V1. Now, I know there's a lot of V1 doubters out there, and I think it's an interesting one because I also only put Beast Mode in my top 25. Which I think means that a lot of people are calling a V1 early exit. But I actually think this is going to be one of the most interesting matches of the group stage to me, especially after V1 won the last NA, and I really loved watching them do it. A really fun play style. Not sure if they'll be able to execute on LAN, but FaZe Clan, if they keep just giving so much room, keep playing super defensively, and giving V1 a lot of space, then you know, we're going to see a bit of a run over the top of FaZe Clan. I think this is like a really interesting match. This match here determines, to me, like a lot of the fate of, you know, not just them, but maybe even the Group B teams at the LAN. But I'm actually backing V1 somewhat this LAN. I'm going to give them a 3-2 here over FaZe. But, again, this is like the most interesting match of at least the first round, it feels like. Queso versus V1. I think very similar stories, but Queso are just clearly so good. V1 might have a little bit of that experience factor from Torment. But I think skill-wise, it's still very much Queso. But again, I am backing V1. I think they've got a capability here of beating Queso. I'll just give them one game here. Queso versus FaZe Clan. This is the biggest problem for me with FaZe Clan in this group. And part of the reason, you know, this is part of the problem is that Queso are Queso, and I feel like they are going to top the group. If anyone takes them down, I think it's going to be V1. And part of the reason that I've backed down a little bit again on FaZe Clan, because I was a little bit short on them last time. I think I put them 5th to 8th or even 9th to 11th in the end, with G2 going above them in the last major. But this time, I think this is a very Queso-sided matchup if they play their style, because FaZe Clan stacking net a lot, really great mechanics, will make huge plays, will punish you, can be very quick off the mark. But if they play defensively, FaZe Clan, I think they get slaughtered by Queso, assuming Queso play their game. Because Queso are going to go for really creative bumps. If they get any room, they're going to make just as awesome plays as First Killer, as AJ. If you give them any room, then Queso have a lot to take, which would really play into Queso's play style. Which is interesting to me, because I would have thought after the last event, the FaZe Clan, and with picking up Sypical, that FaZe Clan might go the opposite way and become like a more aggressive team, because they were pretty like net stacky in the last one too. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case unless they've changed their play style between online and LAN here. So I actually think Queso have a playstyle matchup. I actually don't think it's likely to be a 3-0, but I'm kind of saying it's probably going to be a 3-1, but I'd rather go 3-0 than 3-2. I think it's more likely to be between 3-0 and 3-1 than 3-1 and 3-2, so I'm going to err on the side of 3-0 here to be a little bit more interesting and show exactly my opinion on that group. But I definitely think Queso have a huge advantage the way that both teams are playing online. Obviously, it doesn't mean anything when it comes to LAN, or it could mean nothing when it comes to LAN, but we're taking what we have. FaZe Clan's advantage here, they played at the last one. They got better as the LAN went on. They probably got better at dealing with, just playing on LAN in general. Moving on to Group B, NRG versus Furia. And man, when it comes to Furia, it's annoying for me because coming into this major, talking about Furia throughout the split, I've been saying, okay, this is the major for Furia to get top 8, for Furia to have that big performance, for them to finally convert their online play to LAN play, their scrim play to tournament play, or to LAN play specifically, because they did convert scrim technically to a tournament in the Sweden skirmish, the Reddles tournament last time. But their online play, their scrim play hasn't been going anywhere near as well this event, which put some doubts on that one. They're in a tough group with Renegades in the same group as well, which puts doubt on that one. Endpoint are probably going to be fired up for this event, but maybe a little bit more beatable than we thought last time when they came in first seed into the entire event. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. NRG started groups poorly last time. It was a very slow start for them. They could have lost maybe could have and maybe even should have lost to Sam number 2, Era Eternity. And I think if Era had more experience, they may have taken that one. But I can't bet against NRG. I'm still going to give Furia one game here. I'm kind of leaning more towards a 3-1-3-2 situation than a 3-0-3-1, actually. But I think it's going to be a 3-1. Endpoint versus Renegades is extremely interesting. I would have put this a very safe endpoint a week ago. It can be very difficult to determine whether a team is playing better in their region or if everybody else is getting better or everybody else is getting worse, that kind of thing. You know, it's hard to determine if somebody's comparatively better or worse. I actually thought for a lot of this split that Renegades weren't on full form until maybe the third event, which they funnily enough lost as well. They came second. I actually felt that they played pretty well in the third event, and so did Ground Zero. But they've been playing so well in scrims. The scrims have been doing really well, which is, again, it's just scrims. But compared to last time their scrims went poorly and they stepped up when they got to the stage. I think they're feeling a lot more confident and comfortable internationally, and they took down Endpoint last time with some copium coming out from Lading Wave about settings. So this makes this a really, really, really interesting match. And again, it's the first match of LAN. I think this is just the hardest to predict potentially. You have to go look at Group C and D first to really determine that. But so far, I think this is the actual hardest to predict. Oh, I haven't thought about this match too much. I know a lot of my audience will want me to go Renegades here, but it's really hard for me to predict against Endpoint. Group of Death? I don't think this is the Group of Death. I don't think really any group is the Group of Death. But it is tough because the 4th seed is top 8 material. Like, all of them are top 8 material. All of them could come top 8. Oh my god. I think I still let you guys down a little bit. I don't want to do this, but I'm giving it to Endpoint. I'm sorry. I'm giving it to Endpoint. But if Renegades win that, they're coming top 8, right? It's not about backing the boys. I mean, they don't care if I predict 4 against them. It's not going to change the results if I'm like, yeah, Renegades are going to win. I'm trying to be realistic about where I think the expectations go. Group C, the hardest for sure. I think it's more top heavy than Group B, and less bottom heavy. So it depends on your take. You know, like people are saying Group A is also the group of death, but like it's also pretty much a guaranteed top 12. Right? You know, you're guaranteed to get through to day 3. My God, I'm still not happy that if I could make it 3-3, I would. But we won't for now. I actually think Renegades have the ability to beat NRG here on... Oh, this is day 2, isn't it? They played one match on day 1 and 2 matches on day 2, if I recall. I'm actually... This one, I'm more confident in. I'm much more confident in NRG, but because I didn't back Renegades in the previous round, and because I think NRG are going to still have a bit of a struggle in groups, I'm going to give it the 3-2. I'm going to give it the 3-2. It might not have any effect on the bracket, but if Endpoint, do we go the cheeky? Do we go the cheeky Furia over Endpoint? Do we go the tiebreaker scenario? Because I'm telling you what, this is a repeat. This is a repeat. Renegades over Furia. They take that win again. They're confident. They've 3-0'd them before. The advantage here for Furia is that they're not going to underestimate them again. I'm actually, you know what? We're going to be a bit spicy, I think. I think Furia take down Endpoint. Furia take down Endpoint, but you're seeing kind of the fact that I've got all these 3-2s, how I actually think this group is closer than it looks on paper, right? And then NRG beat Endpoint pretty comfortable, which means we're going to have a tiebreaker between Endpoint and Furia. Oh God. Oh God. And Renegades go through because they're 2 games ahead because of, you know, going 3-2, 3-2. That would actually make Renegades the number 2 seed. Okay, well, I'm saying they lose to Endpoint, but I'm still backing them, I guess. In its own way. Oh, and then we have to actually do the tiebreaker here. And Endpoint fight back. Endpoint come back in a game 5. Endpoint come back. I want Furia through. I want Furia making a top 8. I call them coming top 8. But that's been off like 2 lands where they came in looking so good as a team, like outside of the actual land event itself, and then falling short. And I was like, okay, this 3rd event, you know, they've had the nerves out of their way. They had to have a 2-year break between the last time and this time. Now they've only had a 3-month break. This is the time. But my entire argument for thinking that they would do well has been from watching them online. And now in scrims it hasn't been going as well for them. So like my argument for why they're going to be good has fallen apart. I can't argue why they're going to be so good. And it's just like a hope pick from then. But I want Furia to go through. If Endpoint came last, it would be a dream. If Endpoint came last in the group, it would be an absolute dream for me. I'd love to see that. But not because I hate Endpoint. Don't get me wrong. This is the group for me. If you talk about like hardest groups, or the group of death. This isn't the group of death, but it is the group of like, I love all 4 of these teams. In terms of like favorite teams here, it's like got 3 out of 4. Or actually, you know, like I've got NRG winning. Endpoint, I love Relating Wave. I love watching Seiko. Metsunoris is literally the nicest guy in Rocket League. So Endpoint, I'm a huge fan of Endpoint. Obviously a fan of Renegades. Obviously a fan of Furia. Like I don't want to see any of these guys getting knocked out. This is like the most heartbreaking group for me. Whether when it comes to Group A, you know, like I'm not going to be heartbroken if like Detonator get knocked out just because we don't have much expectations, even though I'd love to see them do well. You know, FaZe Clan I'm not particularly connected to. I haven't got to hang out with those guys yet, so I don't know them too well. You know, Sypical's a pretty awesome guy. I met him at Lambo. We didn't talk much at RLCS Season 8. I love Torment, though, from V1. A long-time fan. I used to coach him for a little bit as well. So, Torment's awesome. And I love the Queso boys, too. Haven't got to see them at LAN, obviously. So that's Group A and Group B, and also not just our predictions, but also our thoughts on who we're like our biggest fans of. So here's Group B, so Group C and D. In terms of like this group, kind of I don't know Team Secret too well. EG, I like them, but I don't know them too well. So it's not like, you know, I wouldn't be like mad if anyone got knocked out. Yeah, Group B is like my heart group. It's the one that I want to watch the most play out. Furia won against Queso and Scrims. I didn't see that. That's really awesome, though. Not many people have been winning against Queso and Scrims. Not just this split, but even in the previous split when they didn't make the major and they were scrimming people on the way to the major. Okay, Group C. You're right, this is a tough group. I guess we look at Team Secret first, right? And I think they're a really good team. I know Johnny really backs Knight as one of the best mechanical players. But for me, funnily enough, the weak point is Math. Is that Math keeps having like mediocre LAN performances when he has. If you guys watch him in SAM, he's amazing in SAM. He's one of the best statistically as well in SAM. And then whenever he gets to, he's been at 2 LANs now, and I felt like he hasn't performed. He hasn't been that guy. So he's like a player who's going to get you to LAN. He got Era to LAN. He's got Secret to LAN kind of thing. But I don't think he's going to perform. So I can't back Secret. Can't back Secret to make the upset. So we're going to start with Secret and go through kind of like we did with Detonator. I think this is interesting with BDS because, again, BDS also had a bit of a slow start last time. But I don't think it's going to be the same this time. I think they get knocked out. I don't think they're pushovers by any means. Will they be pushovers? But I think they do lose all their matches. It doesn't help that the quality of their opponents are very, very good. In that BDS and G2 are both in the running to win the entire thing. And EG, I think, are solid as a rock and will be hard to just overcome for a fresh team. Obviously, except for Math, but the other two, very fresh. Math is the lesser player between Knight and Sad, yeah. Which is good, which is overall good for their team, but it's still a problem that I have that he underperforms at LAN. You can't have somebody underperforming. You can't have somebody falling short because it usually affects the entire team. I think Secret, well, Secret are funnily enough the number 1 seed here, but I think it's clear that Secret are actually the number 2 from SAM. Just because Furia won the last 2, right? Over the top of Secret as well. G2 and EG. Look, I said it. I think you get my thoughts. I think G2 are in contention. Like, they have the ability to win. I don't think EG have the ability to win the LAN. From what we've seen from them thus far, I think they're solid. I think they've got a bit more of a defensive play style than most of EU, and yet still have been able to hang with the top of EU. But they haven't been able to take the wins even against EU, which is a big problem there. And I have said that G2 could win it. I think there's going to be a much bigger fluctuation potentially for G2. Like, they could go really poorly, they could do really well. Like I said in our top 25 rankings, I actually don't think we know how good Atomic is on LAN either. I think the last event was such a wash for Team Envy, such a team effort of lack of performance, that it's actually hard to know if he is a LAN performer or not. He obviously still had his moments. He still looked, pretty good here and there. But is he a good performer? Is he a bad performer? It is really, really hard to know. I'm treating him as like a complete unknown, even though he has been at the last LAN. So I think we've got a lot more variables with G2. But as I said, I think they have a chance to win the entire event. They've got a higher ceiling. So I'm going to give them the win. BDS versus EG. How has their last matchups gone? I should remember this, but I often forget exact results between two teams. So I'm actually going to look this up. I'm actually going to look up the head-to-head between BDS. My assumption is they always lose to BDS. They always lose to Queso or Dignitas. That it's like one of those three, and they beat everybody else. BDS. So they beat them in fall, and they only versed BDS once in winter in event 2 and lost 4-1. Which is kind of where I'm going with as well. I think they have the chance to take BDS, but I think everyone would be in agreement here that BDS are the better team in Europe. It is very much the most difficult group. I think if you put any of the other emerging region, smaller region teams in this group, then you're going to find it hard to put them through. Pioneers in this group can't put them through. Maybe Renegades could take down EG. Maybe they could take down G2. So maybe a Renegades. Maybe a Furia. Those are the top two teams from their regions. You'd back Sandrock just because they have such a high ceiling as well that they could. But you're not going to say like they definitely will kind of thing. You're not going to give like a good favorability to anyone in this group. And obviously not Detonator. And G2 versus BDS. This is the battle for first place in the group. Seiko wants out of Endpoint the RLCS broadcast first touch. They talk a lot of like assumptions there, right? What they think, not what unless you hear it out from Seiko's mouth. I'd stop like typing it over and over again as like biblical knowledge. Because they, stir up interesting opinions, which is great, but yeah. G2 versus BDS. Look, I still think BDS are just class, but I think this is a close one. I think this is really kind of similar to that first one. It'll determine how we think about teams coming out of this group. I could see G2 winning. But I think I've got BDS kind of coming top 3. So top 3. Yeah. Top 3. Top 3. Yeah. I feel like I got them top 3. Maybe we'll put top 4 for the event. I think they're just going to be so solidly consistent. And then if they have a really great day, like they did, you got to admit, BDS had a great day when it came to that Sunday especially. They had a really good day. And that's what you need to win a LAN. It is hard to say, yet this team is going to win, because what it takes to win is for you to have your best day, is to have a really good day on the most important day when you're versing the hardest opponents usually. Which is also an advantage of going through the upper bracket too. That's why we discuss a lot about floors and ceilings. If you have a really high floor, which Team BDS do, then you're going to get wins even when you're not playing at your best. And if you have a really high ceiling, you might be able to snatch wins that you weren't expected to. But I'd say if you need to manage both as a team. If you have too low of a floor, you won't get to that Sunday, because you're going to have a bad day and it's going to be so bad that it'll knock you out. Heading over to Group D, Dignitas, Sandrock, Pioneers, and Space Station. I actually think this could be the weakest group. I want to get your thoughts on that though, because I could see the argument that either B or D, depending on your personal thoughts about the teams, the regions, etc. But I think that I don't back any of these guys to win, other than maybe Dignitas on a good day. I think Dignitas on a good day could win the entire thing. I know other people are backing Sandrock. I find it a little bit harder because we just haven't seen enough of them still with Khaled at the main stage. So that's an interesting one. And also Sandrock have a bit of a disadvantage time zone wise this time. They're not boot camping. Well, they are probably boot camp. I think they're boot camping in KSA a little bit, but they have to fly out straight for the event, and it's a full 11-hour switch. So it's basically switching perfect night to day. Dignitas are a top contender, but they haven't been in form, which is a problem. But we know they have the potential. And also, I said this in our top 25 player rankings. We think that Dignitas, our memories of Sweden is that Dignitas, dominated groups and stuff like that. But I actually think that they were pretty untested, realistically. They versed Verdi in the first round. And their real tough match was against Semper in the third round of groups, and then they lost to Semper the next day by having what I felt like was a rough performance, except for Jurias, who was really good throughout. So I actually think they're a little bit more untested on LAN. We know Scrub Killer is going to be good on LAN. I think we know that Jurias is going to be good on LAN, but as a unit, are they going to be good at this LAN? There is more question marks than you think there. And that doesn't help when they're also not coming in as the top contenders from Europe, which is BDS and Queso, obviously. So this becomes a very interesting group. But I still think that Dignitas, you have to give them the clear favorites. I actually don't know how Space Station are going. The one thing I know about Space Station is that they came 9th to 12th in the last event, but I think they're trying to make some changes. Space Station and Pioneers, from what I've heard, are both trying to change up their playstyle, make some major changes in the lead up to the major, which I do not like. And I think this is going to be their Space Station's first match on LAN with changes implemented. I think that's going to make them really struggle. They said that they want to play like they did in event number 1 as well. That's just what we heard from, I think, CJ talking to them. But that, to me, it doesn't matter what kind of playstyle they're going for. It's just the fact that you're not confident in whatever playstyle you are. You're making changes. You usually want to be spending this time honing, not making a change and playing it untested and not having confidence in how you play. And you just have to look at BDS. They're confident in how they play, even if it wasn't working in Europe as well. They still just came out and played their playstyle, at least in the later half of Sweden. Sandrock Gaming, I think we still give them the win. Um, Pioneers, as I said, also look like they're changing their playstyle. First ever LAN, lots of nerves there for Pioneers. I'm a big believer in Sandrock Gaming. I think Pioneers are not going to be a pushover. I think Pioneers could take down... I mean, realistically, they could take down any of the three, but I don't think they have a chance against Dignitas. Well, I don't... Like, a realistic chance. You know, it's like against Dignitas, it's like a 10%. Against Sandrock and SSG, I'm thinking more like 30% kind of thing. Jurius is like 20 hours past 2. At least he's going to be playing a lot at boot camp. But I don't know. There's always been like certain players who have like some of the most mechanical players have always like or have performed while having low hours. It's when you have a sustained amount of low hours that it really becomes a huge issue. So hopefully it's not been a sustained amount of long hours, and hopefully he still has like the huge plays in him at LAN. But that is, you know, it is, you know, we're finding little holes in every single one of these teams, right? Dignitas, we actually don't know, and you know, according to chat, Juria's low hours. That might be a little hole that you can poke in them. Maybe they're coming in low form. Sandrock Gaming are going to be at a 12-hour difference. We haven't seen O'Khalid on LAN. Pioneers, it's their first LAN. They're super excited. They look like they're changing playstyle. Same with Space Station. They look like they're not confident in their playstyle. They came off a 9th to 12th in the last NA event. There is a lot of holes. This is why I think this has got to be the weakest group, is because we can poke a hole in each one of these teams. I think they're all potential to go a long way as well. Like, I could see Space Station top 6. I could see Pioneers, if they just have the tournament of their life, maybe make a top 8. I see Sandrock Gaming, I think a top 4, top 6 is in the cards. Dignitas could take the event if they have their best event. But I think there's so many holes poked in these guys. Oh, no. Okay. So Dignitas versus Pioneers. I think a similar story. A 3-1 we're going to give. I think Pioneers are, again, not going to be a pushover for anyone. I think they've got the base. I think they've got the skills. And we've seen them be able to play. The major thing that they did that made them so successful in OCE is they played like they didn't know who their opponents were. So even in the very beginning, the very first tournament, they played against the best of OCE. They played against Renegades. They played against Ground Zero. And they beat them both because they just didn't seem to care. They didn't seem to care who they were versing from. And that's always been a big problem for new OCE players and teams, mostly like players going over, is that the first time they go, you know, you're like, oh, I'm up against JNaps. He's going to beat me to the ball, so I won't go. That kind of thing. You won't see that from Pioneers, so they'll have that advantage there. I do still think that they will be affected by nerves. We've seen that especially in Event 3 when the major was on the line for them, and things did fall apart a little bit there. We've seen Scrub, I think, especially be a bit nervous. Super Locky says that he gets nervous. So when they get nervous, my biggest problem isn't that they play badly. They still play well. They still play mechanically, but they play less in your face. And it's a lot less threatening for teams. Yeah, Vixen. Vixen could have beaten them, you know, and sent Direwolves or Ground Zero to the major. Imagine. Sandrock versus Space Station. I'm poking holes in both of them. I've got the thumbtacks out. But I'm a big believer in SRG. I'm a big believer in SRG. Is this day 2? Guys, is this day 1 or day 2? Do they play both the first 2 matches, or are they playing round 2 and round 3 on day 2 as well? This is day 2. Might help out SRG with time zone. I don't know how SSG have their sleep schedules, because this will be in the morning. But, you know, I think they'll be fine because they're from NA. I think they've got a lot of advantage in terms of time zone. So for that reason, for time zones, I'm going to keep it close. I think if it was in EU, I give it a 3-1 to SRG. Oops. Sandrock have to face Dig and SSG in a row. Look, I think having Pioneers day 1 for them is like a dream. Just to get themselves used to it, get themselves through day 1, and then like a warm up on Space Station. Though Dignitas will get a warm up on Pioneers as well, so I guess that doesn't make a difference for day 2. I do think when it comes to these 2 matches, you know, because I think there's a decent upset potential for Pioneers over SRG. I think when it comes to round 2 to round 3, there is more chance of Space Station beating Sandrock than there is of Pioneers beating Dignitas. I mean, you can even just see that in the scoreline, which may be a factor here of thinking like multiple scenarios. What could happen in this round 3 match? Like, if Dignitas are coming off a win and Sandrock are coming off a loss, that could make a huge difference in Sandrock's potential to win this one. You feel like SRG and KCP play similarly? I think KCP are a little bit more chaotic. SRG have a few more solo plays in them. But I guess so, yeah. I mean, you can find similarities in them. Rocket League's interesting is that like you could probably take any 2 teams realistically and go, you know, they play similarly in this regard. And then you could equally probably make the same argument, oh yeah, these 2 don't play similarly at all because of this, this, and this. Depends on how specific or what you're looking at. I'm still... This is another one of those matches that I want to go... I want to go Sandrock here. Very much a heart pick. I want to go Sandrock. But it's very difficult to do so. It's like Renegades versus Endpoint. I wanted to go Renegades. And I levered over to Endpoint. God damn. I do like that this LAN has so many matches like this. I mean, just LANs have matches like this where you're like, okay, who's gonna win? You know what? I think we play another. Listen, if I say 3-2 over Space Station for SRG, I gotta give the win to Dignitas. I was gonna go like, yeah, let's play an interesting scenario, because if Sandrock Gaming were to beat Dignitas, we'd have a tiebreaker at the top, which could be interesting. Actually, surely this still ends up being a tiebreaker, and I think we're gonna give this a 3-2. I actually think that this is like a very winnable one for Pioneers. I think it is a very close matchup. Do we not end up in a tiebreak? Oh, okay. No, whoever comes out of this comes top of the group. Okay. I was thinking that would cause a roundabout, but yeah, of course it's like this. It was 2-0 and 0-2 for both the teams leading into this round. You think Pioneers beat SSG? Not gonna lie. It's very distinctly possible. I think that's the most winnable match. I just think that, like, I just don't know if they're going to be... I think it's huge for Pioneers that it's the third match. That is what I will say. I think this is huge that if this is Pioneers SSG in round 1, it's just like straight away, like that's an SSG win, right? I think Pioneers, when they get to land, they're already like super excited, super pumped. We've seen the nerves from them before. They're over the moon. They won't stop tweeting every 10 seconds about like how excited they are to be at LAN. They're very pumped up. Energy is very high for them. They care a lot about this, even if they say that they're going to go there and just have a lot of fun. It's just impossible to run past those nerves. So the fact that this is their third match, and they'll have had the chance to get through a lot of those nerves, get comfortable on stage a bit, is going to be huge. Is it B stream or A stream? Is it B stream or A stream? Yeah, I know Scrub said, I don't know if Lockie said it, but Scrub tweeted that they were doing well in scrims. Their first set of scrims. The only one I know is that, from what I gather from the scrims, is they beat Furia. Well, the thing is, Pioneers would also need to win or be out of the tournament based on this bracket here. Would you say that Ground Zero would have a better chance than Pioneers in this group? If they played like Event 3, but Pioneers have been just consistently a better team across the split. They've been consistent, which is huge. But Ground Zero have experience. I wasn't impressed with Ground Zero at the last event though. So not really. I think there's a lot less chance that Ground Zero would flop. I think there's a chance here that Pioneers could go 0-9. You know, they just, absolutely cake it. And I don't think that would happen with Ground Zero, but I don't think there's more of a chance for Ground Zero here to take, a series win than it would be for Pioneers, necessarily. But if they were staying with that third event performance, and if they could perform on LAN, well then, yeah, I'd back them. I think they're a great team. But, I mean, we saw Torsos at the last event. I don't think KCP even necessarily have a higher ceiling. I just don't think Ground Zero are hitting their ceiling at LAN. Whether I don't know if Pioneers will hit their ceiling at LAN. So, I'm just more confident that Ground Zero won't hit their ceiling. I actually think that Ground Zero probably have a higher ceiling. I mean, we've seen that when they've beaten Pioneers recently. But they won the last event, had a great ceiling there. But I just don't think they're hitting their ceiling at LAN, Ground Zero. We don't know if Pioneers will hit their ceiling. So they could be better. If I thought that KCP had a higher ceiling, I'd be happy to just quickly back them here to beat Space Station. Yeah, KCP play a lot like the SAM teams do, for sure. At the moment, which is funny because they used to just play super defensive, rush net, and then play their solo plays. But people started to understand that play style. Once they turned up the aggression, which was like at the end of last split, that's when Event 3, kind of a little bit in Event 2 of the first split, that's when Pioneers became a true threat again. Thanks, Deadweight. Thanks, dude. Do we just back Pioneers for the fun of it? Actually, you know what? Fuck Chrome. I said last split that we're going to see a lot more out of the emerging regions. And he had a big bloody argument that I didn't even want to be a part of because I was just saying, hey, emerging region teams are going to get better and better as the splits go on and they get more experience and it's going to be amazing and you guys got to make sure you keep on your toes around them. And then Big Chrome comes in and you guys say that all the time and look what's that. Well, look what happened to Complexity knocking SSG out. I said that to him. And he's like, oh, they're an NA team, Copium. You know, this is the ultimate match here. Space Station, both SRG and Pioneers, if they take him down, I kind of completely forgot that tweet. I didn't care about it. You know, I'm not going to hold on to that beef, right? But if they lost to 2 of the smaller region teams, Chrome would never hear the end of it. I think we all get a nice little retweet out of that tweet. And so we have to hope for that situation to occur. So we're going to give this to Pioneers. Maybe because Chrome will have a small chance of seeing these final predictions as well and get even madder and be like, Yummy, you still got to have so much hopium. But mate, he underestimates everybody else, especially for an NA team. Go for Chrome the same way people went for Reddles. Just a tiny little bit of Twitter beef and blow it up. Blow it up to the next level. You know, one person says one thing, you're like, oh, yeah, go in. All right. Okay, so that takes us to playoffs. This is going to be our playoffs bracket. Now, can we make this look decent? Guess we sort of can. All right now we got Detonator out, Furia out, unfortunately, because I think Furia could make a top 8. Space Station out and Team Secret out, which would be a shame. I don't want to see 2 SAM teams out, and I don't think they deserve to be 2 SAM teams out because I think Furia are sick. But it is a brutal format. A brutal format, especially if you're Furia. What could have cost them? Well, actually, I think Furia probably are happier to be in this group than if it was swapped over and they were in the group with EG, BDS, and G2. I think Furia, although they did take down G2 last time, I think they might be a little bit happier to be in the group that they're currently in. And then maybe Renegades and the other people in that group B would have been much happier to have Team Secret in their group. So, interesting. A very interesting situation there. I guess we start with lower round 1. Renegades versus FaZe Clan. Ooh. So this did happen at the last major. FaZe Clan, it was 3-1, if I recall, against Renegades. FaZe came off and they actually said to CJ at least that that it was that was one of their toughest matches. They really respected Renegades. I think Renegades had a good scrim against them recently, which helps. So there's hopium for you guys. And I've said that First Killer will be the 12th best player at LAN. So you know what that means. Oh, you guys thought I was undermining Renegades because I put endpoint over them. I think they beat FaZe. This was my thing, is that I think FaZe go out early. And it was hard for B to put FaZe in First Killer above top 10 if he's coming 9th to 12. His entire team doesn't make top 8, top 6. Renegades do well against mech. Is that true? What are you backing that off? FaZe plays too fast. Very interesting take. Fast in that they're fast on the ground. So they do, in terms of how you would feel playing against them, you wouldn't feel it being very fast because they give a lot of room. They are going to rely on Fever a lot, probably, to be able to score some special goals in that one with any room that they do give. Maybe some demos from Kami as well. Kind of similar to Queso. Renegades Pretty demo heavy. Especially Kami. Yeah, see, this is the end of the Pioneers run. Unfortunately, we'll give them a 3-0. Give them a 3-0. I know that they're not a pushover, but 3-0 hit. Do Renegades own goal more or FaZe let in more free goals by not defending? Yeah, very interesting. V1 versus Endpoint. Oh my god, I'm loving these matchups. Let's go up to the upper bracket because this is too hard. I've got team... Oh, this is best of 7. I got Team Queso over Dignitas. I got a 4-2. I mean, we got to look at online form. I think... Actually, this is on stage. I mean, like, with crowd, I mean. We go to crowd from here and then and here. So crowd starts here. Okay, maybe not as easy as I thought. So let's go back. Fuck. Shit. Shit. I'm backing V1. I'm backing V1. I'm backing V1, guys. I'm backing V1. And now I'm a hypocrite because I put Seiko as like number 6. I put Seiko as like number 5 or number 6 or something on my list. And I've got Endpoint going out at the same time as FaZe. So I'm a hypocrite, but I don't care. Oh, no. Oh, first killer should have been number 7. Oh, no. Whatever. And we've got beast mode at like 20 or 18 or something. I put him like higher than most people. Beast mode versus Seiko, yeah. Oh my god. Sandrock, I think they actually... I like Sandrock against EG. I think a Sandrock offense, if they are playing comfortably, oh my god, they run rings around people. They have sick fakes. They have sick solo plays. They have sick passes. They're fast. Great, like individual mechanics as well. I think they could end up being too much for EG, similarly to how Queso have been too much for EG. Which makes a really interesting match down here. When it comes to Renegades and G2, I have said G2 could win the entire event. It is a possibility. They could also bomb out early. I can't say the same about Renegades. I can't believe this is still best of 5. I feel like this should be best of 7. You know, once you're on the stage, it should be best of 7. Like with their crowd. Said G2 could win the entire thing. I said Renegades can't. Renegades will not win the entire thing. Hell, if you know Renegades, you know that they'll have a good performance one day and a terrible performance the next. And they usually have about 2 out of 3. So you gotta like go for a 2/3 ratio of good to bad days. On a 5-day event, that probably means they have 2 bad days. Which is not a way that you get through and win it all, right? This will be the first event, their first match on stage, and it's G2. I would love to believe in Renegades here. I think it's possible for Renegades here. I think they will back themselves here, and they'll have a chance of going into the top 6. But I just can't do it when I literally think that G2 could win it all, and that Renegades can't win it all. You know, like it's It's not like I'm going, like Renegades could win it, you know, but it's like a 0.001% chance or something like that. 0.1% chance at best. Where the G2, I'm kind of thinking like 3-4% chance. Like that's actually a realistic chance, right? Even if it's low. Version 1 versus Sandrock Gaming. And as you guys know, I'm a big believer in V1. I think they're going to be great this LAN. But not good enough to take down Sandrock Gaming. Sandrock now are over their jet lag as well. They were lucky on day 3. They're still a bit jet lagged here. Still having a bit of a rough day on day 3. That's why Evil Geniuses get a game. But they got through that. They got a bit of a tough matchup in V1, I'm sure. But they're over their jet lag. They take it and they move on to top 6. Sandrock, baby. They're earning an extra spot for Middle East at Worlds. It's going to be 3 Middle East teams at Worlds. V1 reverse sweep 3-2. Be a bold claim. If this ends up being the bracket and they go 3-2, then you're a god. Okay, I guess we have to move to the upper bracket now. And again, all of these are on land with the crowd now. We got the rematch of the grand final. Also, I've got all the number 1 seeds against each other, which we know will not be the case. We know that will not be the case. So, see what I did there, guys? You like that one? I'm expecting chat right there to love that one. Yeah, big. Can we get some laughs, some ha-has, some lols, some kick dubs? There we go. Send me to NA. Send me to LA. I've already got the American type jokes. Let's go. Beautiful. Queso versus Dignitas. You know what? I will give you the link for the predictions. There you go, buddy. Team Queso, Dignitas. I had 4-2 before I thought about the fact that it's on stage in front of a crowd, which I think helps when you've got Scrub Killer on your team. The crowd are going to cheer for Dignitas, aren't they? I think Dignitas are a little bit of a crowd favorite here when it's EU versus EU. If this was any NA team versus Dignitas, you won't get a peep for Dignitas. But I think Dignitas as Queso will have the crowd. That being said, I think that's going to give them one more game for me. I think that means this is a really, really interesting match. But Dignitas have kept losing to Queso all split, so very hard to go against them here. Which does mean Queso get a top 3. NRG versus BDS. How much fun will NRG be having? This is in front of a crowd. The crowd factor is going to be insane for NRG. Like, think about it. Think about this crowd. BDS are like the villains for North America. People kind of hate BDS for the fact that they gave EU credibility. Right? They're kind of a little less known. They're not super like content creative, like in your face, like super, you know, they're not like big personalities and long-standing personalities like Scrub Killer or even Appjack from Dignitas. BDS are, I feel like the villains for NA. Like it is going to be, and NRG is the most popular NA team. They've got Squishy, they got Justin, they got Garrett G. Probably the 3 favorite NA players. It is going to be a very interesting one. Again, another one that I could see going either way. And I kind of want to see NRG make a lower bracket run. And I would if this wasn't in front of the crowd. But I think, for me, the crowd takes him over the line. I actually have NRG going over the line. I think I would normally put BDS here in this matchup. Even though spoilers, I did say NRG were going to win the entire thing. I think I would put BDS here, but I think this is where the crowd factor comes in huge. Here's a question for you guys. Who do you think Sandrock have a better chance against? NRG or BDS? Alright. BDS due to familiarity. A lot of people saying NRG, which I think is fair. I'd be confident against NRG, given the last time they, when they played at the last major, they had Senzo and things started to pick up halfway through the series. Crowd factor too big against NRG. I think that's a fair call. BDS can beat SRG. That is true. So can NRG, as we have seen. Down in the lower bracket, I want to back SRG, but I have to give that to BDS. I think that's the end of the Sandrock Dream Run. I think a top 6 for Sandrock is spectacular, especially in a format like this. I mean, you can even look at just like the quality of teams that you're going to be running up against in the lower bracket too is going to be insane. And somewhat luck of the draw, because they may have preferred to verse your Queso and Dignitas, so kind of depends on how they go out through their group too, Maybe a third in their group could be better for them than a second, going through here. Maybe confident to win against G2 and then FaZe Renegades and then verse the loser of this one. Obviously they'd want to just win their group and go into Dignitas' spot up against Queso. If that happens, I'm SRG all the way, right? If they're going up here, I'm just going to back SRG the entire way. I just don't think that with the time zone difference that they are going to do that. Still have the capability, but I don't think they will top their group. We got to have 2 NAU teams. We do not. We do not need anything, to be honest. Dignitas G2. See, for me, this almost feels like it could be a third match, but okay, so like you got so many just solid teams at the top here: NRG, BDS, Queso, Dignitas, G2, that you're all kind of looking at, in my opinion, here to fill out a top 5, and one of those teams obviously can't come top 4. We've got some G2 fans here. SRG have more LAN experience with and without crowd in the past 2 years. That is technically true. There's a very big difference between RLCS LAN and not. And I haven't really talked about them losing to BDS because of the crowd. I think a big difference here is the fact that BDS get to boot camp and they don't, time zone wise. I've still got BDS winning. You could be as confident as you want in SRG. I think in groups, time zone is going to be a huge issue for them. And I've still got them going through groups number 2. Hey, Reddle's mum. I've also got KCP beating SSG. What are you going to do about it? Renegades will not beat FaZe. How much are you going to donate if that is untrue? funny that you would care if somebody is biased in predictions. All right, Dignitas versus Dignitas versus GT. Dignitas versus G2. I've kind of like been they're very similar teams to me, is I think that they're going to either have a huge performance or fall a little bit flat for both of them. So I actually think it's like really nice that they're in this point here. Atomic's first time with G2. Dignitas have been here before. G2 are going to have a really big crowd effect on them. I think if there's no crowd here, I give it to Dignitas. Every day of the week. The crowd factor. How much is that going to come into effect? I think having Scrub Killer really helps Dignitas. I mean, Scrub Killer's gone through an American crowd as well to win an event when he was with Vitality. I hate that I have to call him Scrub Killer because there's also Scrub and there's Scrub Killer. JNAP's always been good under pressure. Chicago always been good under the crowd. So I guess like there's actually more unknowns to Dignitas and Appjack and Jorios in front of the crowd. I mean, if Jorios thrives on pressure, then the behind the scenes stuff doesn't really say that because, you know, they talked a lot about nerves at the end of that behind the scenes vid. The major might even get cancelled because of COVID, so calm down. Now who's the one overthinking it? EU teams love banner, home advantage is real. I mean, I've got to experience it myself, and even just a smaller crowd. When you are getting scored on, and you like make a mistake, and everybody cheers against you, if you're even slightly tilty, it ups that tilt factor. You get so annoyed, like, oh my god, they're just like over cheering for the dumbest goals and stuff like that. It's often not like something that bolsters one team, but actually hinders. That's why I say Scrub Killer won in NA against with the NA crowd pushing against him. No, I'm not going to LA. Yeah, they would thinking that they would cancel the major because of COVID is wild. They would maybe cancel the crowd. They would cancel the crowd, but all the teams are already, like most of the teams are already there. Everyone besides SRG are there. And Detonator. Yeah, there's a good chance that SRG don't get to go. But also keep in mind, guys, that Reddle's mum, number 11, is also trying to rile everyone up. I'm going to give it a Dignitas, I think. We give it a Dignitas. And then we get to move across. Bang. Beautiful. Oh, it's cutting off a little bit of this grand final, unfortunately. yeah, they have to get visas to go from the Middle East to NA. Like you like just for like even like basic travel. Like we can go with a visa waiver, but yeah. That's alright. Sure. I'll cut out a chat. We're just having some fun here, guys. Don't try and bring down the mood by going, oh, you're bringing it to bad. Oh, SRG aren't going to be there. Oh, blah, blah, blah. You just sound like a sook. So let's move on from that and go back to having some fun. Because again, we're just having some fun, silly predictions. We know that, I guarantee you, 100% that these predictions are wrong. 100%. We're having some fun. We're discussing teams. We're getting the thoughts on who I'm predicting, but also we get to see who chat think are going to win. It is a good time. It is relaxing. We're here on a Friday night. We're here on a Friday night. You know, we're all enjoying ourselves. Let's not try and bring down the mood, guys. Let's keep it as positive as we possibly can when talking about serious business of Rocket League car soccer esports, guys. Come on. Serious business. How dare you think that Sandrock Gaming could possibly come top 6? How dare you think that EU is greater than NA? How dare you have 4 EU teams in your top 4? Sorry, 3 EU teams in your top 4. Yummy Cheese Man picking Queso to win. I don't think you've been keeping up. Okay. Upper bracket or lower bracket first, guys? Yeah, no bucket about it. Do you think Queso won't fall under the pressure? I think it's like super up in the air. But I think they've got a huge advantage. You probably could just watch from the start, Macho, but they've got a huge advantage in that it feels like day one, day two, like it kind of ramps up for them rather than like getting thrown straight into the deep end. But yes, they could very much just completely collapse under the pressure. We don't know yet, because even there's other teams here and at the last major who we know how they perform under pressure more than we do with Queso, because Queso have been very privileged in their performance, because of their performance, in not having to be under too much pressure at all through this split, because by the time they got into the serious matches in the first event of this split, they were already outperforming expectations, and there was not much pressure to perform further on, and they just kept going. They just kept going and they won, right? And then in the second event, they'd already qualified, like they qualified, somewhat early on. There was probably the most pressure in event 2 for them. That was when they still hadn't qualified at some point. They still had to get good wins under their belt in order to qualify. But once they qualified, hell, they probably played worse once they qualified, once they started mucking about, especially in that grand finals. And then in the third event, well, they'd already qualified. There was literally no pressure on them whatsoever. So we actually just don't know whatsoever about Queso. So they definitely could collapse. They could be good. They're actually the biggest unknown of any team, I think, under pressure. Others we know that they're going to collapse a little bit. Others we kind of know are going to be good, or at least we should know somewhat from previous experience under pressure or online stages, that sort of thing. His monkey mood smiling. His Jory is nervous. Yeah. Listen, it's very hard to go for Dignitas here, right? Let's I want to see what their actual scores were here. Wait, what? Oh, I guess I just don't get to see their head to head. Well, okay. I was going to look up the Dignitas versus BDS head to head to see what the actual series results were. A Dignitas BDS I'm going to give it to BDS. I'm going to continue on. They're coming from the last major win. It's hard to back Dignitas through. Kind of makes me want to put G2 here going through the last round just because I think that matchup is way more interesting, BDS versus G2 again, because they will have played in groups, than seeing BDS versus Dignitas here. I think that's more exciting for predictions. But we've already done it. We're not going back. We go to the upper bracket. Dignitas have the winning record over BDS this split. Very, very interesting. Last time they perfect... Oh, yeah, that's right. In event number 2, they perfect swept... Was it event number 2? Event number 1? Was that all the way back in event number 1? That was event 1, right? Yeah. So it's actually been quite a while since they got to verse each other. Damn. Damn, this is a really interesting... I'm going to at least put this here for now. Ooh. You reckon Dig beats BDS? I think it's possible. But do you think Dig beat BDS? Do you think that they beat G2? Because I think there's like a lot of stepping stones here. I think they've got the harder side of the bracket in theory. Like, I would prefer to be versing Sandrock than G2 or Dig, depending on how you switched it. So you think it depends on the nerves too. Man, we've got so many 4-3s here. I hate having so many 4-3s. I'm going to change some 4-3s. And then, okay, I think we'll just keep it like that. I think we'll go with our first gut with BDS over Dignitas. We'll stick with that gut. And then, what's happening in the upper bracket here? I think if we see a situation where Queso knocked down NRG and NRG come off a loss and verse BDS off a win, then BDS will beat NRG and it'll be Queso versus BDS Grand Final. So I think NRG have to win this series. And I think they do. I think they pick it up here. Day number 3. This is their first match of day number 3. Oh, sorry. Day number 5. Thinking in terms of, old day number 3. Championship Sunday. This is Championship Sunday. NRG slap down Queso. Queso fight back against BDS. BDS are like, we've figured them out. We know how to win. They don't know shit. They get taken down by Team Queso. They've been upstarted by the youngsters. And then what happens in the grand final? What happens in the grand final? We don't have the Sweden rematch. I mean, we do here. We already had the Sweden. We don't need to see it twice. Do we have Queso running the lower bracket? Or do we have BDS slapping them down again? 4-3 to Queso, 4-2 to NRG. I'm actually surprised I got Queso top 2. I'm surprised I got Queso top 2 because I had them like 3rd, 4th when I was thinking about my list. And they've just made the run. I think it's because I'm putting them over Dignitas here. I think that's been the big part of that's got them here. That's got them in the top 3 and now into the top 2 because of BDS. I had Queso here in my mind when I made the player list. 4140 for Team Queso. Someone's got the bracket reset. NRG by a whisker. Energy ain't winning or it'll be the end of the world. Squishy wins this. BDS can't be beating Dig. If they don't beat Dig, then Queso will. NA Crowd, Squishy in Grand Finals. And not only that, they're having to face down every EU team. They're the last NA team left. The last hope for NRG, for NA. NRG fighting off everyone and doing what Vitality did in RLCS Season 7. Vitality making that run against all the top NA teams. Well, now it's going to be NRG making the run over all of the EU teams. NRG, big performance. Take down BDS, take down Queso twice. Don't even have to worry about Dignitas, apparently. I tell you what, if I did this predictions all over again, I'm sure there'd be a completely different bracket. I'd be like, okay, I gotta put this here, this here. But this is what the bracket that we ended up with. Oh no, you can't see it. Hang on. There we go. There we go. You know what? I think the Queso very much could bracket reset. I think that is a high likelihood, but I think everybody always goes to the bracket reset. So I'm going for the boring one. I'm going to stand out by being boring and putting NRG winning without the bracket reset. You've got Dig running through the lowers to beat NRG in the final. Who does everybody have in their grand finals? Where do they come from? Who wins? Who does everybody else have? This is what I've got. I've got NRG in a sea of EU. With Sandrock top 6. Justin will get tilted and put cringe tweets about admins. That's a pretty safe bet. Queso BDS Grand Finals. Who wins though? We can't just get a Queso BDS Grand Final. Who's winning? G2 versus Dig, both from uppers. G2, well, one of them has to go through lowers, but G2 goes to the lower bracket, wins with a bracket reset. You got G2. You're the T-Bates follower. You have Renegades and Furia 4-3. I like it. Imagine the scenes. Dig 4-3 SRG. Oh, you got SRG Grand Finals. Queso 4-3 BDS. Okay, we're seeing a few Queso BDSs in there. I don't know. I feel like for me, I don't think necessarily NA should be doing better than EU at event, but I think it is a bad look on NA if they're not doing better than or equal to or better than EU, which either means winning the entire thing or having like equal representation in the top 6 kind of area. Given that they have the NA crowd, the NA time zones. NA time zone's a big one. And some chance to lick their wounds from Sweden Major. Renegades Furia final. NRG 1, Queso 2, Dig 3, SRG 4 in your bracket. So you don't have BDS. Who do BDS go down to, Optails? You actually got FaZe beating Dig in upper semifinals. And then in lower finals, Dig beat FaZe. And then bracket reset NRG. Just for NRG to win in Series 2. Okay. I think I will have FaZe the lowest out of anybody in any predictions. I think the lowest you could ever possibly... Well, yeah, the lowest you could possibly put them is 12th. That's just because they end up against RNG. I assumed that they'd actually come 7th to 8th. That they'd end up being like up against, you know, like a Dignitas or something in that 7th, 8th match. I have Endpoint instead of G2. I got Endpoint going early, going home a little early. A lot of fairy tale predictions. Of course, you got to do fair. It's boring if everyone just goes, okay, well, Media's won the last LAN, so they're going to win this one. Queso's top of Europe. The 1 or 2. My NRG are pretty good. I'm going to get them number 3. Got to get some of your own spice in there. For me, that's the Renegades making top 8. That's spicy. Yeah, we don't know much about how Civical is going to perform at this event. Or Daniel, to be honest, obviously. You think KCP are going to run the lower bracket? I cannot back that, as you've seen. I'm kind of not actually backing them to make it into the lower bracket either, but I got Big Goose being magically invited because all of OC disbanded. Sour rejoins to play for the major. They sweep their way to the grand final from the lower bracket. You mean they go 0-9 and make Detonator look good? That's what you're saying. Scroll to the left side again. Okay, we're going back to the left. I've got to go back to this thing. This is what we have over on the left. Have there. This is our final results. I'll move myself over as well. On top of you up here. I don't know. Where do I go? I'll just hide down here, guys. Hey, I'm down here. So you guys can see the bracket. Your hope is that Group A, FaZe beat V1, V1 beats Queso, and Queso beats FaZe. Mexican standoff. I think that's entirely possible. They bracket? No. KCP aren't making bracket. How do they run it? Yeah, to be fair, we originally didn't have Pioneers making bracket either, but we had to do some spice. And we had to make fun of Chrome a little bit, so it got them in there. It got them in there somehow. You don't back Endpoint now or in the future. Oh god. You're like Clashy, who said that Seiko's leaving Endpoint 10,000 times at the start of this. You don't really like Queso Lamau and you don't know why. God, they're so fun to watch. I could imagine being like, oh, I don't think they're going to go well, but I don't know how you can not like them. It's because of Joyo. It's because he has pink hair. You hate people with pink hair, don't you? I knew it. I think Queso are one of the most fun teams to watch at the moment. V1 as well, incredibly fun to watch. Or at least they were in the last event. Fury are fun to watch. SRG fun to watch. Dig fun to watch when they're popping. When Jorias is on, oh my god. Dig are incredibly fun to watch. BDS, Snorefest. EG? Mate, has anybody made it through an EG series without falling asleep? I actually was trying to watch one and I don't know if I fell asleep or the casters did. Either way, the casters couldn't keep me awake, you know? EG play very chill, very relaxed Rocket League. Jurias and Armad are the most fun players in the world to watch. Yeah, I think SRG are incredibly fun to watch. I don't know how you... I guess I could screenshot this. Put EG on before bed. Hey, well at least they're not Veloce, you know? At least they're not Veloce. Uh, you know, I think they could. I think they could make it much further than this too. But yeah, I still back them as a team somewhat. SRG and NRG your favorite to watch? You just like RG teams? Okay. Always one boring EU team. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people like watching FaZe. I think it's hard to not enjoy a team that have two, like, just incredibly mechanical players on it. Or, like, playmakers. Mechanical playmakers. G2 have a lot of fans. They're quite fun to watch as well because they play pretty fast. I think Space Station are fun to watch just because Daniel is on the roster now, and I think he's just really fun to like follow as this young guy, first ever split, already amazing, powerhouse in NA, providing the region with much more firepower. I think that's a fun one to watch just because of him. I don't necessarily think they're the most fun team playstyle wise.